I'm ready whenever you are.
All right, Superintendent Jara, so 4 days away from the first day of school. You've mentioned it before, that teachers deserve raises.
Absolutely.
Why not just give it to them?
Well, it's not that simple. And I've said it since January, the state of the schools. I've been saying it, I was a teacher. Sisters are teachers, they're educators. Most rewarding career, I would tell you. Unfortunately, or fortunately, right, when you look at the funding that came in, historic funding by the governor and the legislature, we have all employees. It's not just teachers. I have bus drivers, I have food service, I have administrators that I'm really proud with their bargaining unit that we came to agreements. Tomorrow night, the board is going to approve 2 contract agreements and raises for hardworking employees. The 42,000 employees deserve a raise. I won't deny that. I think it's their philosophy and how we get there. I have a concern that we all do. You hear it all the time from educators that have been in the system for 15 years, 11 years, that are not getting paid what maybe a 2-3 year teacher that's in the collective bargaining agreement, from California, that gets placed and is making $70,000 a year, but a teacher here in Clark County that has been their entire career here may not be making anywhere near, but then they're mentoring a newer teacher. So I think the philosophy on a salary schedule is something that we have to come to an understanding. The teachers need to be paid for their experience and their degrees, and I think how we get there is something that obviously needs to be addressed at the bargaining table. So it's not about not paying them, even though that's what you hear. It's about how we pay them, how that's equitable, and we compensate our educators. The other big piece of the puzzle, if you will, is when you look at 231 that was passed on by the legislature, it's when you look at that bill, and it's very clear. Yesterday we just received guidance for the Legislative Counsel Bureau, which is their legal team, saying that's one-time money. That money goes away. That money goes away in June of 25. So how do you pay salaries that are recurring with money that goes away? This district, before I got here, before my CFO got here, and before this board, always gave raises with money that would go away or not, and then the district was then making cuts. That's irresponsible. That hurts children, ultimately. So I think how we get there, it's going to be the conversation that needs to be discussed at the bargaining table, not in commercials, not in, standing up and, doing what they do. But ultimately, I know that my educators are hardworking teachers that have been here. I had roundtable conversations with teachers about making different changes this year. They're going to show up because they love children and they need to be compensated. And I know that, and I've told them that.
Definitely. Superintendent, we have talked to both, state lawmakers on both sides of the spectrum, who have both discussed that they are raising concerns of where that money is being allocated for SB 231. You mentioned it right now, that hopefully it may be used into the negotiations that you guys are planning as well, but many are asking, where is this money? What do you have to say in response to that?
Well, the money's not here yet, so the money gets reimbursed because part of the requirements for us to request it, and we did. When you look at the ESCA agreement, we're working on the language that the board will approve. Is they'll get a proportion of whatever that money comes in, because the $250 million doesn't all come to the school district. I want to be very clear. And when you look at it, I was on the phone with all 17 superintendents that we're all doing side agreements because we were put in a box. So when the money is allocated, we don't even know how that's going to be allocated. So when you hear from legislators on both sides saying the money's here, we don't know because the state hasn't told us how that money's going to be allocated. So once we know, the agreement for ESCA is very clear. The language is going to say the proportion that we get, they'll get a proportion of that. And we've agreed to that it'll be sunset in 25. The teachers haven't agreed to that. And that's a hang-up, or one of the hang-ups.
Now moving on to this next part, as a superintendent, what is your top priority for this school year? Student
achievement, number one. Our teachers, I hear from them. like I said, and our principals, when you look at, they feel overwhelmed because we've adopted curriculum for the first time. We adopted English, well, we just recently, but science and math. So they feel there's so much coming at them because the federal dollars we're going to be, again, expired in 2024. So we had to spend the money. So we've invested in a lot of professional development. Our teachers, we've put a lot of systems in place in this district in the last 2 years that we've come back. So student achievement and the clear focus for our principals, our assistant principals, to support educators. Number one priority always has been safety, keeping our kids safe, keeping our educators safe. Very proud of the work of the governor and his office. We worked together on passing his bill and looking at it to give the authority of the teacher. Children that were misbehaving or made others feel unsafe, they may need a different environment. So we're going to really certainly implement that. The other big piece, you asked me for one, I'm giving you three: chronic absenteeism. That is a huge issue that we have in this community of kids being in school, high numbers. What we have, we'll be sharing with the board on Thursday, is really to address making sure that kids are coming to school. Teachers this past spring and summer shared with me the 5113, the two policies that we have around attendance, wasn't being implemented across the board consistently. Because coming back from COVID, when you were sick or you had a cold, we didn't know, so you stayed home, told you to stay home. It's bringing everybody back. Now you need to be in school. We're going to hold you accountable. So we're going to implement those policies where our high school and secondary students, if you're absent, unexcused absence, more than 10 days a semester, you don't get credit. And that's going to be implemented. That's going to be a concern. We have concerns, but you know what? Parents need to understand children need to be in school. Every day matters. Elementary is very similar. So those two things, met with the mayors. Met with the Mayor Henderson, Mayor North Las Vegas, and we're going to work together. We're going to share this in their council meetings, the county, the city of Las Vegas, to make sure that they help us, because I can't do this alone. And there's a lot of synergy around making sure that kids come to school. So those are my top three.
Superintendent, speaking along the lines of school safety, not too long ago I spoke to CCSD Police Lieutenant Brian Zink. He was informing me that now all employees, all CCSD employees now have a panic button.
I do.
How effective is that panic button? How quick is that response? And what else are you doing as a school district to ensure the safety of these students this upcoming school year?
No, that's a great question. And that's something that we implemented quickly. Huge investment. From what I'm hearing, all employees feel so. There's a level of I would say the anxiety has gone down, because it's something they carry on, and they press 3 buttons for an emergency, whether there's medical, and they feel that they can lock down a school, right, when you press it 7 times. It's been well received by all employees, because it's not just our teachers, it's our custodians, our campus monitors, everybody has it. All 40,000 employees have it on them. It works at every building, not just in a school, but in our central office, in all our buildings. So well received and has been very effective. The response time, because I don't have the actual data, but I know that the way that we've really implemented this, it alerts the administrator on the phone and the computer in the main office, and also to the police department. So, I mean, multiple, I would tell you, alert systems where everybody has access. There's times that by accident you're pressing, so you make the phone call before you send everybody, but well received and really excited. One of the things that we're looking at, this board, the Board of Trustees are proud of their work they did around raising the campus monitor pay. We had a lot of vacancies, so we brought that up significantly. Now we've done some standard training for them on de-escalation, supporting on really targeted violence, how you talk to kids, how you address it, and then also providing wraparound services for students. So that's also very important, to make sure that our kids are safe. But I want to tell you, safety starts at home. Parents, talk to your kids, check their book bags, because we've seen too many weapons, as been reported last spring, to address some of those safety challenges that are coming from the community into our schools, so we can address, because my number one priority is student achievement. If kids aren't feeling safe, they're not gonna learn. So we got to address it all.
Now moving over to
Last
transportation.
question, Abel. This is the last question.
You've said it before, it's expected some buses will be late next week. Should students expect bus drivers to get them to class on time for the first day of school?
Absolutely, that's what I expect. We'll be there. We have about 78 vacancies, much better than 250. You know, we're celebrating 78, but our transportation department has been doing a great job of hiring, training. Yesterday I was at a school, they're doing their dry runs with our students. You know, they should expect, our principals expect, the transportation expects that. So I say to this community, drive safely around our buses. Our kids are coming, as we were talking about early, 295,000 or so coming to school on Monday. So the expectation is that they're there and they take them home. That'll be a successful first day.
Incredible. Superintendent, thank you so much for your
Thanks so
time.
much.
I really appreciate it.
Appreciate
Thank you
you.
for chatting.